know how they run their business over there before you guys even consider that, because that's money that's out of our school district. We pay enough out of this X pot. And I'm sorry, as an elected official that's held responsible, I find it offensive that you just propose this to the superintendents instead of saying to bring it to their board members, which it should be. At this time, I'm asking for it not to occur until the board members of all these 10 school districts know about it, whether it be a discussion item, an action item, so they have knowledge of it. And as, I guess you're the legal counsel for the county superintendent, for her to say that it doesn't have to be agendized, I'm sorry. It's about transparency. You're talking about money, you're talking about big changes, okay? You're bypassing transparency to the public and to your board members. I mean, really, that shows lack of courtesy to your board members and to your parents. And I really find it offensive, okay? And the public did know about the possibility of Fontana coming over here. And we did know about Amy Foodie going over to that WeSELPA as the director. And I have to admit, I find it quite curious why all this transposed and the fact that we're being possibly terminated and it would be a good, replacement. I mean, you guys don't even know how to terminate a school district yet properly, but yet you want to consider bringing in a new WeSELPA? Why don't you figure out the laws on how to terminate a school district first properly before you think about bringing in another WeSELPA? I think that's your biggest step right now.
Thank you. We'll move to A3, parking lot review. Susan?
There was
No parking lot reviews. We'll move to section B, which is public comment. And we do have some blue cards from the public. We'll start with Martina Ortega.
Hi, good morning. I have issues about the minutes. The minutes, you could tell that they're very biased. Whatever Edith Naranjo says is documented in black and white. Whatever the rest of the public says is just a one-sentence deal. I understand that you might not like what we say, but we are taxpayers. The greediness of Western WeSELPA is at its all-time high. Instead of 22,000 kids, they're talking about 35,000 kids. And yes, I knew about it before Amy even stepped foot in Fontana Unified School District, and I did make the board members aware that that was going to happen. They had no clue. Also, I'm hoping that it doesn't go through. And at the next Fontana School Board meeting, we will be talking about how Amy Foodie, instead of educating our special education kids, all she does is litigate. And yes, maybe we didn't go into due process. I did have a meeting with Amy Foodie. She made the mediation meeting even worse, where I don't feel like she has taken advantage of that class she took at Pepperdine University to be a good mediator. All she likes to do is be litigate, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second public speaker for item B is Mo Mendoza.
And I'm requesting my time not be started until you guys get the letter that I'm passing out. So you guys have it in front of you. If you could pass it down. Glasses. There should have been enough. Okay, this is a letter that I'm writing because I've been researching local plans. And it's really amazing to see what other SELPAs have for local plans. In one of them, I saw this and kind of tweaked it to where it would meet West End SELPA's criteria. Item to be placed on the next Superintendent Council agenda as an action item. Next WeSELPA Superintendent Council agenda should have the following action item: to add the committee Regional Policy Board to the local plan, and it quotes the laws. The Regional Policy Board is made up of, and this is kind of what it should state in the local plan. The Regional Policy Board is made up of one school board member from each of the 10 districts. A quorum shall consist of 6 members. A chair and vice chair shall be elected annually. The county superintendent, RLA, and the SELPA director is an ex-official member. The Regional Policy Board meets a minimum of 4 times per school calendar year. All meetings of the Regional Policy Board shall be held in accordance to the law and the Brown Act. The notice of the minutes of all regular meetings shall be sent to all district superintendents. It is the responsibility of the Regional Policy Board to review and approve amendments to the local plan and policies and procedures manuals before being placed as an agenda item on the CAC agenda for review and before the Superintendent Council has the final approval of the local plan. All Regional Policy Board members have 1 vote, and decisions will be made by a majority vote except in circumstances where state or federal mandates require a unanimous vote. The Regional Policy Board shall coordinate and implement the SELPA local plan, adopt policies for the SELPA, receive recommendations from the CAC, the FAC, the PAC, the LEA boards, superintendents, concerned agencies, and individuals. Decide disputes, if any, between participating LEAs that arise concerning special education related matters or related to the interpretation of the local plan and policies and procedures. These items are to be placed on the WeSELPA agenda per education EC 35145.5. And I think this is really critical. And I only did a rough draft of it. This was found in another local plan. And you guys really should research the local plan. It's amazing what you see. A lot of them are a lot better than ours, and they're easier to understand, and they have more detail. And they're really nice. And then my other thing that I would like to say is what Martina had said. I did notice that the meetings detailed everything that one parent said. And everybody else's statements that they said were not detailed. If you're going to detail one, detail them all. Don't favor one over the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, public comment for item B, Rita Luke.
I wanted to bring up a couple of things from the past, and I know Susan puts things on the parking lot, but somehow the issues that parents raise end up on the parking lot, and it must be like one of those airport far parking lots that we don't ever see the light of day again. But I have repeatedly sent emails to Susan requesting to find out about the private school meeting that is supposed to be held according to IDEA. It's supposed to be timely and meaningful consultation for representatives of private school children. I have repeatedly asked when that meeting was going to take place, and I have received no response whatsoever. So I'd like the record to reflect that this is an official request to receive notification from the West End SELPA on when the private school meeting is going to take place so I can attend as a representative of children in private schools. On the CAC presentations, Susan had mentioned the CAC, and I wanted to make this body aware that there was a survey conducted by the SELPA, but the results have been somewhat disclosed. What does not appear on the report, and I've reviewed the report, is the request from parents on the types of presentation that the West End SELPA does. We have repeatedly said that speakers should be brought in that are third-party, independent people. Instead, all the presentations are run by the West End SELPA staff, and we don't get any of the third-party speakers. We have speakers that will donate their time. I can recall in 2014 when a CAC committee agreed that a presentation on visual processing disorders would be helpful, and that was the consensus of the group. I believe this was put on the parking lot for 2015. 2015 is coming and going, and there is no visual processing disorder presentation anywhere to be found. SELPA does the life after high school. Why isn't it life after preschool? Because they don't want parents to find out about resources. So now that we're getting ready to kick the kids out of the SELPA, now let us tell you parents about your resources, okay? And if you didn't fight for your kids' education, adult daycare is what you're looking at. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll move on now to Section C, discussion items. We do have a comment card from the public for item C1. Read Luke.
I didn't get to get comfortable. Okay, on C1, the compliance complaints, SELPA should be giving guidance to the districts on how to comply. Some of these issues are pretty basic. The due process cases are at an all-time high. And even though Susan was sugarcoating it, saying that the compliance complaints, the number has gone down, you can still see the issues. And it's unnecessary. What is SELPA doing with your money? That's what you should be asking yourself. I mean, what kind of service are you getting out of the SELPA? Other than bad publicity, I don't see districts really benefiting from the SELPA. The only benefit is for district staff who doesn't want to work too hard and would rather take the complacent route of deferring everything to the SELPA and to be SELPA reliant. So I commend those of you who have taken a lead in becoming more independent of the SELPA. I can tell you, you're not getting very good service for your money. So you're just sending your money over to this agency and you're not getting your money's worth. The parents that are quote unquote satisfied, I believe it's because they just don't know any better. Thank you.
Thank you. Item C1. Susan.
Yes, the charts that I shared with you in the PowerPoint are in your packet under C1. You have each of the graphs. So, and I just have to frame this. We have 15,000 students with IEPs, and when you look at that huge number that we're serving.
Sorry, I can't hear.
I'm sorry. The graphs and charts are all in the packet under C1 that were in my PowerPoint. And I just wanted to frame it from the perspective that we have 15,000 students with IEPs. And there are always going to be some things that may not get done on time due to a variety of circumstances. And it's in no way to excuse, but I think when you look at the record, that we are making progress.
Thank you. Move on to item C2, 2014-15 process. We do have a public comment card. Read Luke.
Okay, let me reframe the framing that Susan just did. The target in federal law is 100% compliance, okay? The target is 0 violations. By now, Susan should know that. So even though there's one child whose education has been impacted That's one life too many, according to the federal government. It's not Susan's philosophy of, oh, we only spoiled, 17 children in our 15,000. First of all, you're not outreaching to the 15,000. Only a small minority even know their rights. We are the community members that are outreaching to parents as volunteers and providing the support and helping them with their children, because this agency is basically adversarial to the community. So never mind that there's only 17 or 57 cases in the case of the due process. 57 cases is an all-time WeSELPA high, if you look at the 5-year projection that Susan presented. I also wanted to frame this issue this way. If you look at 2012 and 2013, there's been 4 due process cases. 2 of those cases were mine. My 2 children, 1 for each. So the WeSELPA took each one of my children to due process. So in our family, guess what? The stats were 100% of our cases went to due process. And that just goes to show the retaliation, and I'm not afraid of the retaliation. I'm here to fight for my children, and it's not my job to get along with the WeSELPA. I'm here for my children, and I am so glad I did, because my daughter, my middle daughter, would have been illiterate if I had listened to the advice of this agency. So I'm thankful for those people that volunteer their time, even staff members in Upland way back when, that told me they were risking their jobs by telling me my rights as a parent. So the retaliation that parents face, and we warn parents when we're helping them advocate, brace yourself for the retaliation that's going to come from the West End WeSELPA, and we will help you and we will support you, because we know how it feels. I'm glad that the Superintendent's Council, it seems like from the minutes, a work group has been formed to look into these due process cases. I encourage you to continue to do that and ask questions and find out why these cases are not being resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item C2. Susan?
In your packet, you'll find some charts that show you the history over the last 5 years. And in 14-15, there were 57 cases filed, 0 hearings, 2 were withdrawn, 28 were resolved or mediated, and 2 were withdrawn, 28, there was a resolution before mediation, 15 were resolved in mediation, 11 post-mediation but prior to hearing. 1, there was another outcome and the case closed. 0 hearings, and there is 1 case that continues still pending over the 3-year period. So it's the same case in each of those 3 years.
Thank you. So let's move to item C3, program transfer timelines and notifications.
In your packet, you have the timeline that shares with you next week. You have the letter of intent as I shared previously, and it walks you through the timelines. I've also sent out to your directors the new policy and procedure that you approved last spring that has the forms they have to submit and the whole procedure spelled out.
Thank you. Move on to item C4, 2014-15, San Bernardino County Superintendent of School Fee for Service, Revenue, and Expenditures Update. Jenny.
Okay, good morning. Item C4, the documents you have in front of you are a recap of the actual revenue and expenditures associated with the West End Operations Special Education Program. You'll see that it's a side-by-side comparison of where we budgeted back in November of 2014 to where we ended the 14-15 year for actuals. The top portion in section A is revenues, then it goes through expenditures, and then I'll talk about the ending balance and what that is made up of. First of all, in section A for revenue, we had a reduction of about $735,000 in